All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. And you know why you're here, right? To really dig in and get into some deep knowledge quickly. And today we are going deep on something that is changing the way we think about AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's multidimensional prompt entanglement, MDPE for short.
Yeah, MDPE. That's a mouthful.
It is.
Hmm.
But the concept, it's even bigger. Think about it.
Yeah.
It's not just about writing better prompts for your AI. It's a whole new way to look at how prompts even work.
This deep dive comes from a source called Theory of Multidimensional Pro.txt. And I think everyone listening has probably had this happen where you feel like you almost had the perfect prompt for an AI. You know, it almost got what you wanted, but then it just kind of missed something crucial. This theory might actually explain why that happens and how we can avoid that in the future.
I think it's a great place to start.
So let's just jump right in. What is the core idea behind MDPE?
So at its heart, MDPE basically says that the best, most effective prompt is not like a fixed instruction. It's not a single thing. It's more like it exists in this kind of entangled state across a lot of different conceptual dimensions.
Kind of like a web of meanings instead of one single meaning?
Exactly. It's like a web. So it's not just the words in the prompt. It's more like all of the potential meanings that the prompt can have.
So it's got this whole bunch of potential meanings just waiting to be unlocked.
Exactly. And the theory uses an analogy here. They compare it to a quantum-like state vector. And this is where it gets kind of trippy. Think of it like, your prompt kind of holding inside it all these different possibilities, almost like it's in multiple states at once.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't actually settle on one specific interpretation until it bumps up against something like, an AI trying to figure it out.
So the AI is reading the prompt and kind of forcing it to choose a meaning.
Yeah. So the theory is saying that the interaction between the prompt and the AI kind of collapses all those possibilities down to one single meaning. It's almost like the AI is selecting one pathway, one particular meaning from all those that are contained inside the prompt.
Okay, I can sort of picture it like a choose-your-own-adventure book where the AI is the reader making the choices.
That's actually a really good way to think about it. The reader is making the choices.
So this all comes from a pretty mathematical place, right? And, I don't have a PhD in theoretical physics or anything. Can you break down that math for us regular folks in a way that we can understand? How does all this math help us understand prompting better?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the full mathematical explanation is pretty heavy. There's Hilbert spaces and all kinds of crazy stuff. But think of it this way. Imagine a giant space, right? And this space contains all the possible meanings that relate to your prompt. It's like a big arena of meaning. Now imagine your prompt is kind of like an arrow in that space. It's pointing in a general direction, but it's also got these little components that reach out into other areas of meaning. It's not just a straight line. It's kind of a multi-dimensional arrow.
Okay, so it's like an arrow, but an arrow with extra bits and pieces pointing off in different directions.
Exactly. It's not just one single point. It's this a complex thing with multiple dimensions.
Okay, so I'm picturing like a big map now with all these different meanings of my prompt branching out. So how does all of that help me actually write better prompts? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Okay, so in this map, in this big meaning map, there are these things called basis meaning states. And these are like the core, the most basic meanings that your prompt could have, almost like the fundamental building blocks.
Like the atoms of meaning.
Exactly, like the atoms. Then there are these things called probability amplitudes. And you can think of them like the volume controls on each one of those basic meanings. So some meanings might be louder or more important, and the AI is more likely to focus on those.
Okay, I'm thinking of it now like a musical chord. So my prompt is a chord. Each note in the chord is one of those basic meanings, and then the amplitude is like how loud each note is played.
That's a fantastic way to put it.
Right.
You got it. So when you're creating a prompt, what you're really doing is you're setting those volumes. You're deciding which of those meanings are the loudest. And you're kind of guiding the AI, whether you realize it or not, towards certain interpretations.
Okay, so I'm not just giving the AI words. I'm giving it like a whole soundscape of meaning to work with.
Right. And this is where it becomes really powerful, right? Because you can actually start to think about prompting, not just in terms of the words, but in terms of these probability amplitudes.
So what about when I start refining my prompt? Like I give the AI feedback, tell it to make it more specific or add more detail. What's happening in that meaning map then?
That's when things get really interesting. That's where that whole entanglement idea really kicks in. When prompts interact with each other, it's like their meaning maps start to blend together, almost like they're getting tangled up. Think about it like this. When you give the AI feedback, You're basically taking its response and then weaving it back into your original prompt.
So by saying, make it more specific, I'm not just adding words. I'm like, I'm affecting this whole web of meanings. The AI's response is changing my original prompt, too.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. And the theory actually uses some fancy terms here. They talk about eigendecomposition and a semantic transformation matrix.
Those are really scary words.
They are, but don't worry about the jargon. What it really means is that there's a way to figure out the most important concepts within your prompt. Like, what are the core themes that are really driving the meaning?
So it's like finding the strongest threads in that web, the ones that are really holding everything together.
Exactly. And those strong threads are the eigenvectors. And the strength of those threads, that's the eigenvalue.
So the eigenvalue helps me see which parts of my prompt are really resonating with the AI.
Exactly. And when you understand that, then you can start to think about how to strengthen those parts of your prompt. Really highlight those core ideas, because those are the ones that are going to have the biggest impact.
So it's like separating the signal from the noise in my prompt, figuring out what's really important to the AI.
You got it. It's all about getting that signal nice and clear. So how do we take all this fancy theory and actually apply it to writing better prompts today? That's what our listeners really want to know, right? How do they use this to get better results?
Right. Everyone wants actionable tips and tricks.
Exactly. So the MDPE theory, what it really gives us is a new framework, a new way to think about prompts. And the big idea here is this idea of creating entangled prompts. So instead of just giving the AI a simple one-dimensional request, you're going to consciously try to weave together different aspects of what you want, things that are connected to each other. So you have this really great example in the text about describing a medieval kingdom. Can you kind of walk us through that and show how we can build these really sophisticated, entangled prompts? Absolutely. So instead of just saying, describe a medieval kingdom, which kind of flat, right? It's just one thing. You think about what are the different dimensions that make up a medieval kingdom? What are the things that are kind of entangled together? So you might think about geography, you might think about politics, you might think about the economy. So then you can create a prompt that's more like, describe a medieval kingdom. Talk about the geography. How does that geography shape the political structure and the economic activities? You see how you're connecting all those different ideas together.
Right. I'm being really specific, and I'm saying, show me how these things are connected.
Exactly. And conceptually, you could represent that as something like P wrangle 0.6 character wrangle plus 0.4 k-text politics drago. Don't worry about the math symbols. It's just a way of showing those different dimensions are all mixed together.
So I don't need to type that math into my AI, thank goodness. But what I should do is mention those different dimensions and how they relate to each other.
Exactly. It's about prompting for the relationships, not just the individual things.
Okay, so I'm starting to really see how this works. What about this idea of quantum collapse interpretation? How does that play into all of this?
Right. So remember, we said that a prompt is kind of floating around in this space of potential meanings. And then when the AI looks at it, it kind of forces it to choose one meaning. Well, that choice that the AI makes, that's the quantum collapse. It's like the AI is making an observation, and that observation is collapsing all those possibilities down into one specific interpretation.
So depending on the AI and what it's focused on at that moment, it might pick different meanings from my super awesome, well-crafted, and tangled prompt.
Absolutely. The same prompt can mean different things to different AIs.
Oh, that's really interesting.
And that's why sometimes you can give the same prompt to different AIs and get wildly different responses, because their meaning maps, their internal models, and the way they do that collapsing process can be totally different.
So I need to be really aware of which AI I'm talking to and what it's good at.
You got it. It's like learning to speak different dialects. And that brings us to something called eigenprompt optimization.
Eigenprompt optimization, huh?
It sounds really complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Remember those dominant themes we talked about, those eigenvectors?
Yeah.
The idea here is that if you can figure out what those are, you can craft your prompt in a way that really highlights those themes, and that's going to give you the best results from that particular AI. It's like finding the AI's sweet spot.
Okay, so if I know that a particular AI is great at, say, creative writing, I should really play up those aspects in my prompt. Lean into its strengths.
You got it. It's like you're speaking the AI's language. You're giving it the information it needs in a way that it can really understand.
It's not just about being clear. It's about being clear in a way that the AI likes.
Exactly. It's about aligning with how that AI sees the world.
So now thinking big picture for a minute, this whole idea of higher dimensional prompts, Where does that lead us in the future of AI? Like, what are the possibilities here?
Oh man, the possibilities are amazing. I think as we get better at creating these multi-layered prompts, as we learn to pack more meaning into them, we're going to see AI doing some incredible things. I mean, imagine an AI that can not only understand your request, but can also understand all the nuances and all the subtleties of what you're trying to achieve.
And you mentioned something about multimodal AI comprehension. What is that exactly?
That's one of the really exciting things about this theory. It suggests that in the future, we might be able to entangle our instructions across all kinds of different data formats. So instead of just text, you could have images, you could have audio, you could have all kinds of stuff woven together in one prompt.
So I could say something like, create a scene that evokes a sense of wonder and mystery, with an image that shows a vast landscape and music that has a kind of ethereal feel.
Exactly. And the AI would create the image, write the description, and compose the music.
Yeah.
All in one go, just like you conducted it.
So it's like my prompt is a conductor bringing together all these different creative elements.
Exactly. And then even further down the line, there's this idea of quantum-inspired AI prompting.
Quantum-inspired prompting, that sounds super futuristic.
It is, but it's based on this idea that the AI, instead of just giving you one single deterministic output, could actually explore all the different possibilities that are contained within your prompt.
So the AI could be more creative, more
Yeah.
exploratory.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like the AI is brainstorming with you, coming up with all kinds of different ideas based on little seeds of meaning that you planted in your prompt.
That is a really cool idea. So to bring it back to our listeners, what are the key takeaways they should be thinking about right now?
The big one is this. A prompt is not just a simple command. It's a much richer form of communication than that.
Like a whole conversation packed into a few words.
Exactly. So when you're crafting a prompt, you want to be really intentional. Think about all the different dimensions of meaning that you want to convey. The geography, the politics, the mood, the style, everything.
Think about those eigenvectors.
Exactly, the eigenvectors. And the more you understand about this, the better you're going to be at guiding AI to produce really amazing results.
Yeah, and the text even hinted at this, but this isn't all just theory, right? You can actually start to test these ideas out right now, especially in creative fields. Like if you're into songwriting or AI music, see if these ideas lead to more interesting and more creative outputs. I bet they will.
I think that's a great place to start experimenting. I really do. And it actually makes me wonder, if we can apply this idea of multidimensional thinking to other areas of our lives, not just AI. What if we start thinking about the problems we face, the questions we ask, in this much more complex, interconnected way?
Like, instead of asking what's the solution, maybe we should be asking what are all the different forces that are creating this problem and how are they all tangled up together?
Exactly. And maybe by understanding those connections, by seeing the whole system, we can start to find solutions that are more effective, more elegant, and more insightful.
I love that idea. It's like this theory is giving us a whole new lens to view the world with.
And maybe that's the real power of MDPE. It's not just about AI. It's about us.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into multidimensional prompt entanglement.
It's been my pleasure.
And for our listeners, keep exploring. Keep asking those multidimensional questions. And who knows, maybe you'll discover something amazing. Until next time.